Do you think the call was justified, the call to postpone the elections to February 2015?
Well, look, what Judge Miller said very clearly was this. He said, you know, why 2 days before the election? This whole problem that some people had with the electronic voting came a long way, maybe 3-4 weeks ago. So that was the timing to begin with was very problematic. You can imagine that a court will not easily postpone an election 2 days before the time, you know. And also, what one would have expected was that if it was a real challenge, that all the issues would be on the table, and that there should be enough time to listen to everybody, which there wasn't.
Well, in his judgment, the judge, of course, also stated that he was confident that the use of the EVMs would not infringe on the constitutional right to vote. But what were the first respondents bringing to this issue? What was the problem here in terms of the constitutional right to vote?
Look, the whole problem for them was still the paper trail. Okay. However, if you listen to those people who were really informed, and I'm talking about somebody, a very critical observer of elections over many years, like Carola Engelbrecht, she is convinced, and she said it over and over again to many people, that the problem of the paper trail will be bigger than not having it. You know, in other words, the moment you feed in the possibility to get a paper trail, which is possible, it opens the door for rigging. The research that informed people in Namibia did over a long time was that the best way to prevent rigging is not to have a paper trail. And they are also convinced that this is a very credible way of voting.
Well, also, the timing of the application, the court also made reference to that. I mean, three days before the elections actually take place. Talk to us about the importance of this, I mean, the timing in this whole matter.
Look, the moment you bring an urgent application, the court usually would like to give a temporary or a initial a judgment with a return date a week or two later, which was impossible in this case because it's only 2 days from election. So imagine any judge giving an order to postpone the election under these circumstances. They would rather want to have let's say the application came 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. It would have given the judge the opportunity to postpone the case, to allow the respondents to come up with witnesses, with evidence, bringing somebody like Carola Engelbrecht in, which was not possible. So the judge would want to be very convinced that this is going to be a problem in the election. And what Judge Miller said was very clear. He said, there's just not enough on the table. There's not reasonable suspicion, as we call it in law. There's maybe a vague suspicion, but without really any backup. And that was one of the main problems. There were, of course, others as well.